Morning, folks. Welcome to the January 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the San Francisco Ethics Commission. Excuse me. Today's meeting is live cablecast on SFGov TV2 and live streamed online at sfgovtv.org/ethicslive. For public comment, members of the public may attend in person or may participate by phone or the WebEx platform as explained in our agenda materials. Mr. Clerk, would you please explain how public comment will be handled?
Public comment will be available on each item on this agenda. Each member of the public will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. For those attending in person, opportunities to speak during the public comment period will be made available here in room 416, City Hall. For those attending remotely, public comment can also be provided via phone call by calling 1-415-655-0001. Access code is 2663-375-5989, followed by the pound sign, and then press the pound sign again to join as an attendee. When your item of interest comes up, press *3 to raise your hand to be added to the public comment line. Public comment is also available via the WebEx client application. Use the WebEx link on the agenda to connect and press the raise hand button to be added to the public comment line. For detailed instructions about how to interact with the telephone system or WebEx client, please refer to the public comment section of the agenda document for this meeting. Public comment may also be submitted in writing and will be shared with the Commission after this meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comments should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Members of the public who attend Commission meetings, including remote attendance, are expected to behave responsibly and respectfully. During public comment, please address your comments to the Commission as a whole and not to individual members. Persons who engage in name-calling, shouting, interruptions, foul language, or other distracting behavior may be excluded from participation.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I now call the meeting to order. Clerk, would you please call roll under item number 1?
Commissioners, please verbally indicate your presence by saying aye after your name is called. Chair Finlev?
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi?
Aye.
Commissioner Francois?
Aye.
Chair Finlev, with 3 members present and accounted for, you have a quorum.
Thank you. That I'll call agenda item 2, general public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment? Not seeing anyone here in person. Mr. Clerk, would you check if there's anyone on our online platform?
Chair Finlev, we were checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you for checking. Seeing no callers, I call item 2 is now closed. We're going to proceed to the calendar. We're going to take things a little bit out of order to accommodate some folks who are here in person. So we'll start by calling agenda item 11, and then we'll call the rest of the calendar in the regular order. So I now call agenda item 11, discussion on possible action regarding request for waiver of compensated advocacy prohibition for Hans Baldauf. Mr. Canning.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I'll briefly summarize the matter, which is a request by Hans Baldauf for a limited waiver to the city's compensated advocacy rule. After I introduce the issue, Mr. Baldauf is present and available to speak as well. Section 3.224A of the Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code prohibits city officers from directly or indirectly receiving any form of compensation to communicate with any other officer or employee of the city with the intent to influence a government decision. This rule is an important safeguard for ensuring the integrity of government decision-making and seeks to prevent situations where city officers could use their positions to exert undue influence over city officials on behalf of paying clients. The Commission, however, has the ability to waive this prohibition for any officer who, by law, must be appointed to represent any profession, trade, business, union, or association. Mr. Baldoff serves on Seat 2 of the Historic Preservation Commission, a seat that may only be filled by licensed architects that meet certain standards related to historic architecture. Given this, Mr. Baldoff is eligible to receive a waiver should the Commission deem it appropriate to grant him one. Mr. Baldoff is also a founding partner of BCV Architecture Plus Interiors. In his waiver request, he explains how part of his role requires him at times to speak with city officials on behalf of his firm and their clients, which is why he is seeking a waiver to communicate with the departments listed in the request. Mr. Baldoff has also said that if granted a waiver, he would delegate such communications to the best extent possible, only using the waiver in situations where other qualified members of his firm are not available. When determining the appropriateness of a waiver for Mr. Baldoff, the Ethics Commission regulations specify that the Commission may consider the following factors. One, the ability for the city to recruit qualified individuals to fill the position in question if the waiver were not granted. Two, the ability of the member to engage in their particular vocation if the waiver were not granted, and any other factors the Commission deems relevant. Looking at these factors, in the past, the Mayor's Office has requested waivers for seats on the Historic Preservation Commission, particularly Seat 1, a waiver was granted back in 2019. As part of that communication, the Mayor's Office stated that filling these positions can be very challenging given the unique qualification requirements, and that not granting these types of waivers could create situations where only retirees or members of very large firms are able to serve on the HPC. To the second factor, Mr. Baldoff has stated that not receiving a waiver may lead to a situation where it's not feasible for him to continue serving on the HPC while meeting his obligations to his firm. Based on these factors and the limited nature of the request, especially the fact that Mr. Baldoff is not seeking a waiver to communicate with the HPC or the planning department or its employees, staff recommends the Commission grant a waiver to Mr. Baldoff that's limited as specified in the staff memo, specifically that it's only applicable to the entities listed in the waiver request, that it's only applicable to situations where other members of Mr. Baldoff's firm couldn't reasonably make the communication. And additionally, the waiver should be limited only to communications made on behalf of BCV Plus Interiors or its clients. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions. And as mentioned, Mr. Baldoff is here and able to speak as well.
Thank you for that. I have no questions, but I was going to just share my thinking, and then we can bring up Mr. Baldoff, and that way you have the benefit of what we're thinking as you talk with us. I was also going to ask the Madam Deputy City Attorney, can we take public comment now, just so we have the benefit of, to the extent we have any comment as we move on? We don't have to wait till the end, right?
No, you can take public comment
right.
anytime.
Great. Does anyone in the gallery wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, we're checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Baldoff, thank you for being here. We look forward to hearing from you. My only question is, I'll just tell you how I'm thinking. Right now I very much support staff's recommendation. I think they laid out the issues well. My only question to you would be whether you have any issues with the narrow, not narrow, but the waiver as envisioned in the recommendation, which is based on communications only with the agencies bulleted in the memo. Those are my thoughts, and I'll just, before you speak, I'll give my colleagues a chance to talk. That way you can direct any comments toward any questions they may have.
I have nothing further to add.
All right, Mr. Waldorf, the floor is yours.
No, first of all, thank you very much for hearing this first. I appreciate it. I asked for this waiver out of an abundance of caution. I am trying to not get into any situation where I'm running afoul of both the spirit and the letter of the rules here, but there are times in just the practice of architecture where you are all of a sudden at a meeting and something comes up and a supervisor walks into the meeting and it becomes awkward and complicated. And so I'm trying to make sure that I am following the rules, and I think very narrowly, as I say, I'm trying to delegate anything that would to other people in our office, but there are just times where situations present themselves, and I don't want to just by my presence or saying something be construed as advocating as a lobbyist. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to practice architecture.
Great. Well, I think we all thank you for so thoughtfully raising the issue. To me, I don't see really any real risk of untoward influence in your roles. I think the city is lucky to have folks like you stepping up to serve on commissions, and I think it would be a shame if you couldn't do that. So any other comments from my colleagues?
No, I agree with Chair Finlay.
Thank you very much.
So with that, I would move to adopt the staff's recommendation as outlined in the memo on agenda item 11.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Clerk, would you take roll, please? Sorry, before you do that, let me just ask the Madam Deputy City Attorney, do I need to spell out on the record the specific recommendation in terms of how the waiver is kind of framed?
Thank you. Since that's spelled out in the staff recommendation, if you'd like to just move to adopt the waiver as specified in the staff recommendation, that would be sufficient.
Great. Thanks. Thank you. I think that's what I did, so I think we have a pending vote. Thank you, Madam Deputy City Attorney.
On the motion to adopt staff recommendation on agenda item 11, Chair Finlev,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Francois.
Aye.
Chair Finlev, with 3 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Great. Best wishes to you. Thank you. That will go back to the consent calendar. I now call item, well, so I should say there's one item on the consent calendar I'd like to move, which was previously item 4. I don't know if it's now item 5, but the Executive Director's Report will move. Everything else on the consent calendar will remain there unless my colleagues want to pool anything and discuss it separately. Seeing none, I move to adopt the consent calendar, which should be the draft minutes, previously item 3, and the enforcement report, item 5.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, would you?
Do we need to take public comment?
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers, please? Thank you.
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Great, thank you.
On the motion to adopt the consent calendar, item 3 and item 5, Chair Finlev,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Francois.
Aye.
Chair Finlev, with 3 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Great, thank you. With that, I now call item, can't keep track of the numbers because we moved around a little bit, but it'll be the Executive Director's Report, previously item 4. Great, thank you. Mr. Ford, Director Ford.
Thank you, Chair Finlev. Do you have any questions about the report? I'm glad to go through it if you'd like, or I could just talk about any items that are of interest.
No real questions. The reason I called it is I was really happy to see all the new staff mentioned in the report, and I see some folks are here in the gallery. So I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the commission, It's a great place to be. I'm really happy to see you all here. I know the staff has put a lot of work into finding the best and the brightest, so welcome here. I'm not asking you all to say anything because this is public and we're on the record, but I want to welcome you all and give my colleagues a chance to say anything that they'd like to say.
Yeah, I echo that, and that was one thing that really stood out to me. Some really great additions to the commission staff, and so congratulations and thank you to everyone who worked on this and making it happen.
Yeah, I definitely want to recognize Gayatri and our HR analyst, Nikki Chu, if she's watching. They put in a ton of work getting all these recruitments through. It is a lot of work to hire in city government, and also to all the managers and everybody else in the office that participated in the interviews. We interviewed many, many people for these 13 recruitments.
Yeah, and seeing the wealth of experience and backgrounds that people have, I think they're going to invaluably contribute to the commission. So it's really great to see. Thank you, and thank you, Director Ford. I think I have to take public comment since I pulled this item. So does anyone in the gallery wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you. That item is now closed. With that, I call, let's make sure I have the numbering right. Would it be number 5? Just keep the same numbers. Great. I'll call item number 6, which is discussion and possible action regarding the post-stipulation decision and order in the matter of Randy Collins. Mr. D'Amico.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. So this is a matter, I'll give a brief summary and then I'm available for questions. The matter involves Randy Collins, who is a respondent. He was a member of the Board of Examiners from 2014 to 2024. During that time, he was also the founder and CEO of FTF Engineering. The 3 counts in this case are that during the period in question that is included in the statute of limitations from 2020 to 2024. Count 1, there was 1 year in which respondent did not file a Form 700. That was 2022. Count 2, there were 5 occasions in which the respondent, Mr. Collins, did not include the various contracts over the $10,000 threshold that FTF Engineering received. And then count number 3, there was 1 year where respondent did not file a certificate of taking the ethics training and did not file a Sunshine Ordinance declaration. Now, the unique thing about this matter and the reason that our proposed penalties are at 200 per count for a total of 600 is that respondents, the Board of Examiners did not meet at all during the period covered by the statute of limitations. The board met 4 times during respondent's 10 years. He attended 2 of those meetings, the final meeting of which was held in 2018. This means that respondent did not have a practical opportunity to influence a government decision during the period in question in which he did not complete all his relevant filings and trainings. That said, we do still believe a small penalty is appropriate because we do still believe these laws are important, especially it's important to make sure that all of one's financial disclosures are complete so that if the board had met, both we as regulators and the public would be able to figure out if there were any potential conflicts of interest, for example. But because the board did not meet, we believe it would be unduly harsh to penalize respondent anything more than a de minimis amount to emphasize the importance of the laws.
So just on that point, so the violations themselves are within the statute of limitations. It's just that the board happened to not meet during that time.
Yes, and again, because in 2020 and 21 and 22, the respondent did not know that the board would not meet ever again during his time there, and so he was still required to complete these filings. It was just that he never actually had any sort of opportunity to influence a government decision in that time.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm just curious, though, what is the Board of Examiners and how do they not have any meetings? And this is kind of irrelevant, but I guess it's a matter of curiosity.
Sure, yeah. So the Board of Examiners, they determine whether or not new construction materials or methods of construction are compliant with certain safety rules around construction and architecture in the city. And FTF Engineering, as I mentioned, is an engineering and architecture firm that respondent worked at.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you for the write-up. I agree with the analysis and the outcome, particularly given the unique circumstances of the case. One question I had was with respect to the violations outside the statute of limitations, whether there's anything that you learned in the process of reviewing that about whether that had been flagged earlier or not caught, and whether there's something that could change moving forward to help identify violations before they become too old to take action on.
Yeah, so it's something that I don't want to. Someone else may be better to speak about this, but it's something that we've started working on and will be continuing to work on is certain, not necessarily automation, but we're working with our edit department to be able to more quickly essentially scan filings and again, I'm not a technical expert, so my language is not correct, but essentially automating the process of looking through filings and looking through city officers to be able to pick out people that we should take a closer look at earlier in the process. So that's definitely something that will be incorporated into that effort.
Thank you.
Commissioner Francois, any questions?
I do just have a question. I saw that I was reading that.
Commissioner, I think the mic is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear? Here, I'll move it closer. Is it on? Okay. I just have a couple of questions, or just really one, because it said that he didn't file for 3 years. 2017. Did I misread that?
There were several years before the statute of limitations covers that he also did not file.
And what is the process when someone doesn't file for 1 year rather than 2 or 3 years? How does that happen? I'm just curious.
Well, our office sends, we send reminders in the lead up to the filing deadline for annual filers. We also send out notifications when someone is late on filing. And I personally cannot speak to what our process was in 2017 and 2018 for dealing with late or non-filers, but I know that now we have, enforcement staff is working to try and sort of create a streamlined process. We have the streamlined process, but also create an expedited process for bringing non-filers and late filers into compliance.
Okay.
So that we don't end up with a situation of multi-year non-filers.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt the item number 6, the staff recommendation and the stipulation.
I'll second. Thank you, Mr. D'Amico.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did we skip public comment?
We haven't done it
I
yet.
did. Sorry, does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, you can take the vote.
On the motion to adopt staff recommendation for item number 6, Chair Finlev,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Francois,
Aye.
Chair Finlev, with 3 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item 6 is now closed. I now call agenda item 7, discussion and possible action regarding proposed SARP stipulation decision and order in the matter of Bert Palacci. Do you guys actually say SARP or do you say SRP? What's the
We do say SARP, Chair.
All right.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Good morning. This is a matter that involves Respondent Bert Palacci. He is a Senior Vice President of Government and Community Relations at Maximus Real Estate Partners, and he's been a contact lobbyist registered and reporting with the Commission since at least January of 2014. In April of 22, Mr. Palacci acted as an intermediary of a $10,000 campaign contribution and failed to report that contribution on his monthly lobbyist disclosure report for the month of April 22. Through investigation, the Commission did not find any additional campaign contributions that Mr. Palacci failed to report. He took responsibility for the violation and filed an amendment to disclose that campaign contribution on the relevant disclosure report. This matter was resolved under the Commission's Streamlined Administrative Resolution Program, SARP, where the penalty amount is $500 plus a penalty modifier of 15% of the unreported contribution. In this case, that was $500 plus $1,500 because Mr. Palachi filed that amendment and timely engaged with the program within the initial 30-day span. I'm glad to answer any other questions that commissioners may have about this matter.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I thought the write-up was very clear and helpful.
I agree with that.
I agree as well.
Public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers, please?
Chair Finley, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I move to adopt staff's recommendation in agenda item number 7.
Second.
On the motion to adopt staff recommendation for agenda item 7, Chair Finley,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Francois,
Aye.
Chair Finley, with 3 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 7 is now closed. I now call agenda item 8, discussion and possible action regarding proposed SARP stipulation, decision, and order in the Julio Ramos and Julio Ramos for College Board 2024.
For the record, Eric Willett, investigator with the Ethics Commission Enforcement Division. This matter involves Mr. Julio Ramos and Julio Ramos for College Board 2024. Mr. Ramos was an unsuccessful candidate in the November 2024 general election. During that election cycle, Mr. Ramos and his committee failed to include proper disclaimer language on campaign communications that they made in support of Mr. Ramos's candidacy for city elective office. These communications had improper campaign disclaimer language included that was partially correct, but ultimately did not meet the standards and requirements. These included communications such as yard and window signs and the committee's website. As a result of the investigation, Mr. Ramos corrected the website disclaimer within approximately 1 month of that website being live. And for the yard window signs, only 30 of which were distributed. And any future ones, he had corrected the disclaimer on those that were distributed after that initial 30 with the improper disclaimer. This matter was also resolved under the Commission's Streamline program, and that is a $500 penalty when the respondent corrects disclaimers where practicable and within 30 days of contact by the Enforcement Division. Here, Mr. Ramos did correct those disclaimers, engaged with the program timely, and thus a $500 penalty was applicable. Welcome any questions for commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Willett. I think this is a good action. I'm just curious, the website issue, is it that it didn't list that the financial disclosures were available at SF Ethics? Or what was the specific issue with the website? I was trying to sort that out in paragraph towards the bottom on page 6. Well, that's where I was looking. I don't want to direct you anywhere.
No, yeah, correct. So the website had the following disclaimer: paid for by Julio J. Ramos for SF College Board, which is the incorrect name of his candidate-controlled committee.
Oh, okay. And is it all because of the initial?
Correct. So he had incorrect committee name, and he also failed to include the SF ethics disclosures for the financial statements.
Got it. Right. And those are important because that's where folks need to go to see the actual transactions behind them.
Indeed. And then the correct committee so they can look up.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Split. I don't have any other questions.
Nor do I. Thank you.
Thank you,
all right. I move to adopt staff's recommendation on agenda item. I would, although I keep forgetting. Sorry. Thank you. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers, please?
Chair Finlev, we were checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you for checking. I will move again. I can't remember if we got a second. I move to adopt the staff's recommendation in agenda item 8.
You can second. Second.
I think Commissioner Francois seconds.
I'll second.
On the motion to adopt staff recommendation for agenda item 8, Chair Finlev,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Francois,
Aye.
Chair Finlev with 3 votes in the affirmative. The motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item 8 is now closed. I now call agenda item 9. Presentation, public hearing, and possible actions on Ethics Commission budget priorities for the fiscal year 2025 through 26 and fiscal year 26 through 27.
Thank you, Chair Finlev. For the record, Pat Ford, Executive Director, got a slide deck I'm going to load up.
Great.
Can SF TV display that? Great, thank you. So city law requires that we have 2 hearings on the budget before we submit the budget to the mayor's budget office. So this is the first of those 2 hearings, and the second one will be at the commission's next meeting, February 7th. So today, I want to give you an overview of what the mayor's budget instructions are, recap what the Ethics Commission's departmental budget is, and give you the opportunity to have a conversation with each other about what priorities you have in the coming fiscal year, and that will help me and Gayatri as we go through and create a budget proposal to bring back to you at the February meeting. So then you'll actually have a proposal to react to. We don't have that today. We just kind of have the landscape for you, and then we can have a conversation, and then over the next couple of weeks, we'll put that together. So as I mentioned, we'll have to submit the budget to the mayor's office, the proposed budget, February 21st. And this is the first of those 2 public hearings that city law requires. This is something that started about 4 or 5 years ago. I think the board really wanted to make sure commissions were having an opportunity for the public to come in and not to have all of that funneled into the board's budget process. This slide shows some strategic priorities that I've identified. Definitely be curious if you have feedback on these or if you have additional priorities that are important to you. But these roughly track what the Commission's main operational programs are and roughly align with our divisions. But I wanted to put a finer point on exactly what we're trying to focus on in the next couple of fiscal years. So the first one is to provide effective educational materials and compliance assistance. And that's, of course, to better inform the people who we regulate. I'm talking about political committees, city officers and employees, lobbyists, et cetera, to make sure that they understand the law and can follow it. And also to engage members of the public, people who are trying to learn about our laws just to inform themselves or to hold public officials accountable. Always want to make sure they have good information. Secondly, to conduct thorough and timely audits. Right now, we are revamping the audit process and really making it new and more modern with the goal of getting all of the audits of publicly financed candidates done within about a year of those final filings, which are going to be due at the end of this month. Thirdly, to strengthen enforcement, in particular by doing more proactive investigations and by doing larger and more impactful cases. Obviously, we've had some of those recently. We want to do more. We want to make sure that we're focusing the resources in a way that allows us to do those big long-term cases. Next, to make sure that our electronic disclosure systems are very strong. You may have seen in the ED report, I had a couple updates that we just converted our final disclosure program to electronic filing. So we now have full e-filing of all of our disclosures. That's something that we've been trying to work toward for a really long time. Yeah, probably 10 or 15 years. And we finally closed the gap on that one. But there's still work to do in terms of going back and modernizing those systems, making sure that they're effective, that people can use them well. And then the next bullet point really talks about our policy process of reviewing the laws that the commission administers, making sure that they're working. I think we've got a couple of projects in mind that we could talk about at a future meeting, one involving campaign finance, one involving lobbying laws that would be really impactful. And then the final two bullets are really just general goals that we have across all of our operations, which are to enhance operational efficiency, in particular by implementing standardized procedures, using more detailed performance indicators, increasing automation, and using more data-driven approaches. These are things that we know we have the tools to do, and we want to really implement them more to make sure our work is as efficient as possible. And lastly, to maintain the staffing that we know that we need in order to get all of that work done. And that's going to be a major theme of this budget cycle, which we'll talk about in a moment. So this slide gives a high-level overview of the Commission's current budget and what we call the baseline budget for the next 2 fiscal years. And I'll explain what that is. So the current fiscal year budget, fiscal year 25, which ends at the end of June, we have a $6.75 million annual operating budget, and we actually have 29 funded positions currently, but during most of the fiscal year, we were at this bizarre 27.61 number. Those are, you see things like that. Doesn't mean we have 27.61 people. It means that's the average number of funded positions we have during the fiscal year, and that has to do with timing. When we are allowed to hire a position. Sometimes the mayor's office will say, you can hire this position, but you have to wait until this date. You can't start paying somebody until then, just because that's how much money they're willing to give us. So that's why you get these weird fractional numbers of FTEs. What the baseline budget is it's basically a way to say if we continued our current operations and current staffing levels and current contracts that we have at their planned rate, what would the budget be? The reason why it increases is mostly because of the planned cost of living adjustments that are baked into all of the city's MOUs with the bargaining units. So there's a schedule right now, I think every 6 months for the next 3.5 years, there's a cost of living adjustment of 1 to 2% every 6 months. So that's why even if we keep the existing FTE count, you'll see the budget increase and other similar things like contracts that we have with NetFile, work orders we have with other departments. Even if we keep those more or less level, they can fluctuate over time. So that's why you see these numbers changing. But basically, you see the FTE count remaining right at 29. This slide just shows you how that breaks down. Again, you see the same numbers you saw in the previous slide for our current approved budget and the next 2 fiscal years if we were to stay with our baseline. And you can see that right now we're just over 85% salary and benefits. We're a very staff-heavy organization. We don't have a lot of equipment or grants or contracts that we make with community-based organizations or vendors. We really are mostly an organization of people doing this work. And you can see that that actually just deepens over the next couple of fiscal years with those planned cost of living adjustments. Our budget becomes even a little bit more heavily weighted towards salary and benefits. Just a quick note, because this is always something that's part of our budget, which is the election campaign fund. And this is how the city's public financing program is funded. This is a distinct fund, separate and apart from our operating budget. So whenever the mayor's proposed budget comes out, it'll say the Ethics Commission's budget is $15 million. It's not $15 million. We have the operating budget around about $7 million. And then the election campaign fund will actually fluctuate quite wildly year to year because of how the city funds it and because of major expenditures out of that fund during an election year. In this last election in 2024, I think there was around $9 million of expenditures out of that fund.
I imagine we can't use that money for operating expenses, right? It's
we can in a very limited way, and we're actually exploring that right now. What is the full extent of what we are allowed to do? There is a provision in the code that allows us to use, I believe it's up to 15% of the balance of the fund for costs that are associated with administering the program. The balance of the fund is a moving target, so I think we have to figure out what that means. What is 15% of the balance when that changes all the time? And what is the cost associated with administration of the program? So we definitely want to use that to the fullest extent we can, but we are fairly limited.
Because previously those costs have been absorbed by the operating budget?
Correct. For example, the main cost would be the staff hours that go into reviewing those claims for public financing, and then on the back end, doing the statutorily required audits.
Got it.
Exactly. But we have, for example, used that 15% of the fund in the past to pay external auditors. As you remember, we've in the past used external vendors to complete those statutorily required audits. We've been able to use funds from the election campaign fund to help pay for that.
Got it. Thank you.
So more details on that to come as we learn exactly how that works. And this is what our divisional org chart is right now. And you might remember that we have a new division, the operations division, which we created through the last budget. So Gayatri now has a team to help her with all the important budget, operational, HR work, things like running commission meetings, all kinds of basic department-wide functions that we have. Those are now all subsumed within that division. And then you'll see the standard 5 divisions that we've had for a long time. And this is our position org chart. And as I mentioned in the ED report, we have 29 funded positions, and we currently have all 29 of them filled, which is a first as far as any of us are aware of in the history of the commission. I don't know that we've ever had 0 vacancies before. The red boxes that you see here, those are positions that are technically in our org chart. They are not funded. We have no authority to hire those positions. They are required to be held open permanently in order to meet what's called our attrition savings target, which is just a weird feature of how the city does its budget. It says, well, technically you have 32 positions, but your attrition target is going to require you to hold 3 of them open. So pick 3 that you want to never hire for. That's what these 3 are. So you can see there's a senior clerk position, there's a senior policy analyst position, and there's an investigator position. So I would consider right now we have no vacancies. We're full, but we do have these kind of weird, kind of zombie positions that we can't use. So now that we've talked about commission's operations and our budget, I want to segue into talking about what the mayor's budget instructions are. And these budget instructions actually came from Mayor London Breed. These came out, let's say, early December. So we did know the outcome of the election at that time. However, she did issue budget instructions. Mayor Daniel Lurie has not issued any additional budget instructions or anything at this time that would change what these are. So we do understand these to be the budget instructions that we will be operating under for this budget. The only thing that he did, which I'll talk about in a moment, is to institute a hiring freeze. So these are the 3 main high-level priorities that Mayor Breed put into the budget instructions. First one is to maintain core city services, including public safety and clean streets. The second one is to continue significant progress decreasing unsheltered homelessness, ensuring effective mental health treatment. And the third one is to propose opportunities to improve operational efficiency in service delivery and reporting across all areas of city service. And in furtherance of those priorities, these are the instructions that were given. The bottom line number here is a 15% cut, and that is 15% in both years of the budget. So as you know, every time the city does its budget, which is every year, it's actually a 2-year budget. So right now, we are going through the process of determining what the budget is for both FY26 and FY27, but we will come back in 12 months and we will do FY27 again. That's how the city does budget. They call it a 2-year budget, but we do it every year. So this 15% would be across both years. So it would be for FY26 and FY27. This is not just a temporary 15% cut. This is going on into the future. The second one is that it doesn't really apply to the Ethics Commission too much, but assessing community-based organizations' grant allocations for efficiency. We don't make grants to CBOs. Third, to re-examine all contractual services and non-personnel expenditures. We don't have a ton of those, but we certainly will look and see if there are savings that we can find. But we really have very few contracts. Mostly we have NetFile and DocuSign for our e-filing systems. Those are our big vendor contracts. Fourth, to eliminate vacancies and not add new FTEs, and to hire only for core departmental functions. And lastly, to consider a hiring freeze. Those were the instructions in December. But on January 9th, Mayor Lurie's first full day in office, he declared a hiring freeze. So luckily, we have no vacant positions right now. We're a full 29-member staff. However, if we were to have a vacancy, we would not be able to fill it unless we went through a process that the mayor's office is creating right now to request an exception. Because this is not a complete hiring freeze, the mayor did say that public safety positions and positions that are necessary for operations or something like that can be hired, but you have to get approval. So if we find ourselves in that situation, we will definitely be going through that process and making a request. And that's separate from the budget. That's for right now, any positions you have right now. So the way that this 15% budget cut would translate for our department is that it would be an ongoing cut of $1.1 million. And we are required to submit a budget that meets that cut. We have to input that into the city's budget system, and we have to be in compliance. As you remember from previous budget years, we can also make a separate request for something that does not involve a 15% cut. It could be something less than that, or it could be no cut. But we do have to propose a scenario to them for them to consider of what that would look like to do a 15% cut. And because of the fact that we are about 86% staff, and a lot of those non-personnel costs are things we cannot stop paying for. We can't stop paying the rent on our office. We can't stop paying NetFile to run our e-disclosure system. We can't stop paying other departments like DHR to provide necessary services to us. A lot, or nearly all, of that cut would come out of our staff budget. So that would involve a reduction in the number of positions that we have. So to recap what the process is, February 21st is when we need to have our budget proposal submitted to the mayor's office. I should have added on here that also February 7th we'll have an additional hearing here with you. But then following that, February 21st, we need to submit our proposal. By June 1st, the mayor submits his proposed budget to the board, and it is still at that time just a proposed budget. The mayor does not actually have the full authority to set the budget. The board actually does that. Then in June, the board goes through its budget process. So that's when it forms up the full budget and appropriations committee, 5-member committee, and holds lots of hearings. And departments come in and make presentations. So we will be making a presentation at some point during the month of June. Sometimes you have to come back for a second round if they want to make changes to your budget. And then by August 1st, the board has to pass the 2 ordinances that constitute the city's budget. And that's a piece of legislation, just like any other ordinance, and the mayor needs to sign it for it to become operative. So obviously, that is already into the next fiscal year, but that's just how they do it. They approve the budget already in the fiscal year that we're approving the budget for. So that's an overview of the process and where we are. Be glad to go back and talk about any of that or answer any questions. Would definitely be curious to hear your feedback about the priorities that I articulated. I could go back to that slide too if you want to talk about that. Any additional priorities you have, what you're thinking here, anything you can share.
I have a question. The 15% target cut for the commission, is that because some of the mayor's office has specifically said you, ethics commission, should target 15%, or is that drawn from the citywide kind of 15%?
That would be citywide, and this is the approach we've seen every year, is the mayor will articulate a single number that just reflects where they want to be. They want to reduce the deficit by a given amount, so they want to cut across the board that amount. They do not give different departments different percents in our experience, although oftentimes departments end up in different places. Some departments get cut more than others.
Got it. And then I was curious, the 9% or so that's for other services of other departments, is that kind of contract support, or what is that?
Gayatri, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I can. So the services of other departments are work orders with departments such as Department of Technology. They provide all of the infrastructure, communications, SFGov TV, software licenses, and things like that. We also have work order with DHR for HR services, with the Controller's office for accounting services, real estate for rent, things like that.
Got it. So it sounds like those are not things that can be done in-house or absorbed by existing.
Those are like very, basic operational needs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the priorities you laid out, Director Ford, make a lot of sense to me. Welcome any comments from my colleagues.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree as well.
Yeah, I think you're doing good work, and I think that's it for our granular input. But everything you laid out makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, you'll have something more concrete to react to at the next meeting, so that might drive more conversation. Also, hopefully, we'll have 2 more commissioners at that meeting. We can see if they have any specific ideas, but we'll come to you with a full proposal of how we think we could best sustain what would be a pretty serious cut to our budget without disrupting our operations more than we can avoid.
Yeah, just out of curiosity about the process, will you have an opportunity to get input or engagement from the mayor's office before you come to us on February 7th, or even if it's informal, just a sense of?
We're not too sure what that's going to look like. There is a process for that. So when we submit our budget proposal at the end of February, historically then there has been back and forth with the mayor's budget office. So we have a budget analyst that's assigned to us. That budget analyst reports to the mayor's budget director. The budget director is in charge of putting together the mayor's proposed budget to send to the board. So basically during March and April, the mayor's budget office is reviewing our proposal and the proposal of all the other departments, trying to assess what their priorities are, figure out where they want to spend their time and money and attention. Oftentimes in the past, I think we have not gotten a ton of attention on our budget. I think it's been hard to get the mayor's budget office to prioritize the Ethics Commission. I would love to see that change. I would love to see the mayor's budget office really take seriously the cuts that they're talking about doing to our office and think about the impact that's going to have and give us some time and attention on this budget and hopefully avoid some of these cuts, because cutting a tiny department like ours does almost nothing to balance the overall budget. We understand it's part of their approach. They want fairness. They want an across-the-board haircut for everybody. But that just doesn't make sense for a small department that isn't issuing big grants and contracts. We're not spending cash. We're a very small staff doing important work. So hopefully they will take the time to meet with us, learn about what we do, and keep us from having to roll back the services we provide.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. The cost-benefit analysis seems kind of skewed in our situation. If there's anything that we can do as commissioners to help with that message, just let us know.
Okay, I will. Yeah, it could be helpful. In the past, when we've had particularly difficult budget discussions, we have involved the chair or other commissioners, so I could see that being something we may want to do, but hopefully not. Hopefully we can negotiate and come to a good conclusion. We won't have to do that.
Great. All right. Thank you, Director Ford. Public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, will you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Mr. Clerk, that closes item number 9. I now call item 10, discussion of enforcement regulation review project.
Excuse me.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Zach D'Amico, Senior Investigator with the Enforcement Division. This is, so our department, as you know, over the last few years has made an increased effort, as well as showed an increasing willingness to bring cases through the entire process that's sketched out in our enforcement regulations, especially focusing on probable cause process, the pre-hearing process, and then the hearing on the merits process. In that process, we have learned a lot, both from the hearing that we held last year, as well as from the many cases we have brought to the probable cause phase. We've learned a lot about how our enforcement regulations apply to these areas and how they could potentially be improved. The enforcement regulations, as you may know, were adopted in the late 1990s. In the past 28 years, they've been amended 11 times. The most recent time was in 2018. So a lot has changed since then in our department's operations. And I think regulations that were written in theory have now been put to practice. And as I've mentioned, we've learned for opportunities to improve those regulations. So as part of this, we've identified a couple of different types of issues with the regulations that we think we can improve upon. The first are just very basic updates to reflect current practices as they've evolved. The second are opportunities to provide clarity where there are currently ambiguities. From our experience, especially with the hearing that we held last year, these are just things like the basic mechanics of how a hearing is held, how and who is appointed as a pre-hearing officer and a hearing officer, things like the order of who asks questions to witnesses. And again, you were all here for the hearing, and I think you all experienced that in real time as we did. That additional guidance would be helpful both for us as the commission and staff, but also for respondents, giving them clarity on what they can expect as they move through the process. And then finally, there are a few places where we feel the enforcement regulations contradict themselves or other laws, and there can be improvements made on that regard as well. So our department is kicking off what we hope to be a 6-month or so process to revise these enforcement regulations. The past 4 months, we have been working on researching the regulations, other jurisdictions, talking to folks in other jurisdictions about what they do and how they address some of these issues that we've identified. So we're using this meeting to sort of publicly announce this project, to let you all know what the process will look like. We're not requesting any action at this time, but we'd like to give you the opportunity to weigh in on the process if you'd like and ask any questions. Essentially, for the next few months, we will be soliciting ideas and feedback from a number of parties. We're going to do at least one round of IP meetings, interested party meetings, to solicit ideas and feedback. We welcome and encourage active participation from you all as commissioners, getting your ideas and feedback as the proposed amendments work their way through the process. We've also already started working with the city attorney's office to ensure that we meet all requirements for potential meet and confer throughout the process. And we hope to have final proposed amendments before you all by the end of the fiscal year, which should be the end of June of 2025. And again, there's no action that we're requesting today. If you do have substantive suggestions, we're welcome to take them today, although today is mostly about sort of announcing the project and going through the process. But if you do have things you'd like us to take note of now, we're happy to.
Thank you, Mr. D'Amico. Seems like a great effort. I'll be particularly interested in anything relating to the hearing process after the hearing we did a few months ago. which I think went well, but there are definitely rooms for improvement and things that we learned, a lot of takeaways from that. But no other comments from me at this point, at this time.
Yeah, I agree with Chair Finlev.
Thank you.
I'll take a public comment. Does anyone in the room, thank you, Mr. D'Amico. Anyone in the room wishing to make public comment? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue. No caller. No.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That closes item 10. I now call item 12, items for future meetings. I have nothing personally. Colleagues, anything for future meetings? Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Out of an abundance of caution, did I take public comment on the agenda item regarding the budget? That was agenda item. I did.
Yes, you did. I did, before we close the meeting, want to confirm with the clerk that we have a motion on item 4 that was pulled off the consent calendar. And if not, you did take public comment on that item. I just want to make sure we have the accompanying motion.
Director's report. I'm not sure there was any action required. There was.
You don't need one. It would be consistent with the past practice, I think, to do one. So you could, out of an abundance of caution, if you want, for the minutes.
I'm not sure what the motion would be. I guess it would be because there are no specific recommendations in there.
No, there's no action. So it's if you're comfortable, there's no reason you need to have that.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you. And then for I think I just on agenda item 12, nothing from the commissioners on future meetings. And I think we checked public comment in the room. There was none. Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
No callers.
Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item 12 is now closed. Sorry, item 12 is closed. I now call item 13, additional opportunity for public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on item 13? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you see if there are any callers on item 13?
Chair Finlev, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
All right, item 13 is closed. I call item 14 adjournment. Thank you, everyone.